Hello, Stillwater. For the first time, welcome to the Still Connect podcast, a podcast all about Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm your host, Denver Evans, a born and raised Stillwater local and owner of Stillwater Digital Marketing. Each week, what I'm going to do is sit down and have a friendly chat with a local business owner or community leader who contributes to making Stillwater such a great place to live in. So whether you're a longtime resident or just a visitor, this is your place to stay plugged in, stay inspired, and still connect with the stories that shape our community. Also, this podcast is a real tour of Stillwater, so this is actually a mobile podcast. I'm going around into businesses to have these interviews. So some of the podcast episodes are going to have video as well. I'm working towards having video on every episode, still figuring out some gear and just how I want to go about recording all of that. But I'm really excited to give you guys a visual along with the audio podcast. So a little bit about me. I own Stillwater Digital Marketing with my wife, and we are about to celebrate 5 years of business. Prior to that, I did a lot of photography, videography, graphic designs, those types of things for businesses, individuals, weddings, that type of stuff. And in that time, I've worked with almost 80 Stillwater-based businesses. And what I've seen is that all of them operate differently. A lot of times people don't know about a business that's either serving Stillwater or based in Stillwater. And I just saw this really great opportunity to share some of these stories. I listen to a lot of podcasts and have always thought it'd be really cool if somebody in Stillwater did it. And then I kind of took a look at myself and my equipment and realized I had the means and the relationships to do it. So I thought I'm going to go for it. So here we are. I'm really excited to do this. I'm blown away by the response so far. I did not expect for the social media channels to get hundreds of followers before even launching. So thank you so much. I can tell that you guys are excited about this. I've had a bunch of businesses reach out and say they're interested in being on the podcast. And so I've several months worth of episodes booked to record. So really excited to continue to share these stories with you. So in this introduction episode, I wanted to talk a bit about what Stillwater means to me. First off, Stillwater is not just the city limits. When I say Stillwater, anytime really in the podcast, I'm referring to kind of our whole area, Payne County, even outside of Payne County, all of our surrounding communities, Perry, Glencoe, Yale, Cushing, Perkins, Coyle. So really kind of our whole district. But for me, Stillwater's home, born and raised in Stillwater, born in Stillwater Medical Center. I love it. I've always been here. I joke that my story is kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. I would get ideas about going places and doing different things, and something would happen and it would lead me to staying in Stillwater. And I've grown to love this. So one of the main goals of the podcast is, of course, supporting local. A lot of times people say supporting local, and it's not very clear what that actually means. To me, supporting local means obviously shopping and dining at businesses that are owned locally. That has a huge financial impact on our community, of course. When you spend money at a local business, more of that money stays in the community statistically. We also really need to be supporting local when it comes to our communication. So one thing that I've seen a lot that I'm not a big fan of is just negativity about local businesses on social media. As I've talked about this podcast with other people, every time I mention that, they go, "Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I've seen that." So what I wanted to do was create an environment for local business owners or community leaders to come and talk in a nice, comfortable environment where they can really show who they are. And we as a community can listen to that and hear and get to know their story, maybe learn something about what owning a small business is like or running a nonprofit. Kind of take the opportunity to put yourself in that person's shoes and, consider what you might say or not say the next time you have an issue with a small business. Small business owners are really great 99% of the time. They want you to be happy. They want to support the community. They want to serve their clients really well. I know you're going to see that through even just the first several episodes that I'm releasing. Small business owners love people. They do it because they love people. It's really hard being a small business owner. If they didn't love it, they wouldn't be doing it. So I wanted to kind of create that opportunity for people to see that other perspective. Another thing that supporting local means to me is not that big brands are bad, not that big national companies are bad. They're clearly very successful, but I'm 100% committed to putting local businesses first. So one thing kind of behind the scenes on the podcast is that when someone is creating a podcast and they use a distribution platform, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. There are opportunities to do what are called ad reads for brands, where basically I would come on here and I would read an ad about a company and I get paid for it. I have decided and I've committed and I'm putting it in stone right now that I'm not going to run any ads on the podcast that aren't local businesses. So again, going back to kind of what I mean by local and Stillwater is Payne County and surrounding areas. So I want this podcast to be hyper local, completely focused on creating those opportunities for people who are in Stillwater to hear about these businesses. And anyone who's interested in Stillwater, you might be listening to this and you live somewhere else in the country, but you went to OSU or you're from Stillwater or you are looking at a potential job offer in Stillwater and you wanted to kind of see what the community is like. Everything that you hear on this podcast is going to be about Stillwater businesses from Stillwater businesses. And if that's something that you like to hear and you would like to support the podcast, you can do it by subscribing on Patreon. So if you don't know what Patreon is, basically it's a platform for content creators like me to offer additional content, opportunities, experiences for anyone who wants to go a little bit deeper into the content that I'm creating. So if you check out patreon.com/stillconnectpodcast, which the link to this is in the show notes, you can subscribe to the podcast. And basically I have different tiers. So I have like a $5 tier where you get behind the scenes content, early access to episodes, and a one-time shout out on the podcast. So once you subscribe, the next time I record an episode, I'll give a shout out to all of the new subscribers. From there, it increases to where you can submit questions for upcoming guests, submit requests, participate in live Q&As, have your name or your business listed on the podcast or the podcast website, discounts on merchandise that I'll be making in the future, and even some live hangouts or one-on-one meetings with me. So no matter what level you're supporting the podcast at, whether you're just listening or you're subscribing, following on social media, I'm so grateful for your support and interest. And I just really want this to be something that you enjoy. So again, reminder, you can listen to the audio. You can also check out the video. Depending on your podcast platform, the video will automatically play. You can also go and check out all of the episodes on YouTube. The audio episodes will just have a static image, but you can watch all of the fun interviews that I've recorded. Another thing is I want to know what you all want out of this podcast. So please give me all of the feedback, good or bad. I want this to be something that you want to listen to. So if there's a particular person you would like to hear from, a topic you would like to hear discussed, or anything else, let me know. I want this to be something that we as a community build together. For me, this is really my love letter to Stillwater and my way of giving back to the community that has given so much to me. And so I'm so grateful for you all. If you're hearing this, thank you so much. I look forward to it. And when life gets busy, make sure you still connect.